Black Desert Online was released in early 2016 and was a letdown for many people, which resulted in a lot of us quitting shortly after release. Now we're about a year through the game and a lot of those players have decided to come back. In this video I'm going to talk about the game's new content and the things that will help you if you do decide to return. But first I'm going to quickly go over the issues that I had with the game when it first came out. When I found out about Black Desert Online, I bought the Conqueror's package pretty much straight away. I reached a soft level cap of 50 in just a few days. I finished all the mainstream quests and pretty much tried every bit of the game's content so far. That's where the game got boring for me. Other than a few side quests, there wasn't really much else you could do. The PvP kept me playing for a little while, but eventually that got stale as well. Gradually I just played the game less and less until eventually I stopped playing altogether. But in 2017 I found myself looking for a new MMO to play. I decided to look at how Black Desert was going. I checked the forums and saw a large amount of content had been added, and so had a lot of events that rewarded returning players. So, I installed the latest patch and decided to give it another go. I've been playing the game for a couple of weeks now, and here are the things that have changed and what's kept me sticking around. A lot of players who used to play Black Desert Online don't want to return because they think they'd have fallen too far behind to compete with those who kept going. That's not the case though, as when you return to the game you're given a multitude of things that will help you catch up. Firstly, there's the attendance rewards. Spending 30 minutes on the game each day will reward you with a new item. These items can be anything from black stones to in-game money to various kits and boxes which will reward you with items of high worth and more. On the menu you'll find the attendance rewards tab, which contains the list of items you can receive. Normally you'd have one list of items per month, but when returning to the game you get a second list, so you're receiving 2 items per day. This second list gave me things like equipment that was viable in the new content of the game, or things I could just sell for a lot of gold to build up my bank and re-gear my character myself. At the time I returned to the game, there were 2 events active that reward you with even more free items. I'll explain the basics of these events just to keep things short. In the first event, called the Levientius event, you were given a small amount of crafting items each day for logging in. You could receive more of these items by doing normal things in the game, like killing mobs or life skilling, and the more of these items you saved up and combined, the better the reward you got at the end. The second event was the Black Spirits Adventure event, which seems to have been implemented on previous occasions. This event is a board game in which you roll the dice every so often and you're given an item based on the spaces you land. I've played numerous MMOs where the events required lots more of you and were hardly even worth your time, so it's pretty refreshing to see events like these where you're rewarded without having to go out of your way to do anything tedious. When I first logged back onto the game, I noticed my mail icon flashing. Inside was a bunch of items ready to collect that I've been given in compensation for things such as connection and server issues and extended downtime on maintenances, even though I wasn't playing the game at the time. These items presented me with things such as XP buffs or more items to use and sell. In my experience, not many MMOs will compensate you for these sort of issues. They'll give you an apology and that's about it. And whether it was intended or not, it was really nice to be given compensation for things that happened when I didn't even have the game installed. Returning players are also granted access to channels that have a 200% XP boost attached to them. You can only use these channels for 1 month after returning to the game. So after rejoining only for a short while, I had built up a solid amount of in-game money and was able to increase my character's power enough to partake in the game's new content. All thanks to the free benefits given to me for merely returning to the game. This brings me to the next topic, the new content. A lot of new features have been added to Black Desert Online, more quests, new gear, new monsters, just to name a few. I haven't explored all of the new content yet, but there are a few things that really stood out for me thus far. This is only a quick rundown of a small part of the game's new content, but these are in my opinion the most interesting features to be added to the game that I've discovered since rejoining. Awakening weapons are by far my favourite addition to the game. When I first started playing, each class only had one type of weapon. For me, as a warrior, it was a longsword and shield. The release of awakening weapons meant that each class could now use a second type of weapon, which for my class was a two-handed greatsword. You can swap between the 2 types of weapons freely, even in the midst of battle. Along with this new weapon comes a range of new abilities, which can be used in combos along with all your old moves. You also receive an item that will allow you to reset your character's skill points so you can spread them evenly between your old abilities and your new ones. The only downside to the awakening weapons is the fact that you have to reach level 56 to unlock them, but honestly that doesn't take long at all. I've only had the opportunity to be a part of one war, which was a node war for a small town, but it was a load of fun and a pretty unique take on guild vs guild content in an MMO. On certain days of the week, node wars take place, in which guilds are able to select a town or place that they wish to fight over. Once a guild is enrolled for a war, they're able to choose a spot to place a castle. Each guild places one, and the objective is to destroy all the other enrolled guilds' castles. Players enrolled in the war will work together with their guild to find the other castles and attack them and the people defending them. If you die in a war, you're able to respawn after a short amount of time with no punishment. To assist you in the war, your guild is able to build walls and things such as flame towers which you can mount and use to defend your castle. If your castle is the last one standing, you take control of that node and receive rewards based on the worth of that node. Main cities will produce large amounts of silver for your guild, while the smaller towns will give less. The red battlefield is essentially a team deathmatch mode. The two teams, red and blue, battle for 20 minutes and the team with the highest score at the end of the 20 minutes wins. There are a few unique rules that separate it from the generic team deathmatch approach, but I won't get into them now. At the end of the battle, you're rewarded with various items, and the more you contributed to your team score, the higher the worth of your prize will be. New patches have opened up the ability to explore a much larger area. The main addition to this world though is the desert. I haven't had the chance to explore it yet, but from what I've seen and heard, it's rough. The monsters are much stronger, there are harsher penalties for dying, and you receive temporary debuffs on your character upon entering. On top of that, your horse is unable to move efficiently in the desert, so camels and elephants have been added to the game, which are far better suited to the desert's harsh environment. The desert is where you'll also be able to partake in large-scale world boss battles and where a lot of the new mainstream quests reside. These are what I think are the most noteworthy additions to the game. There are plenty of other things that have been added, and lots of the game's already existing features have been tweaked and fixed as time has passed, but there are a couple more things I want to quickly talk about. A large amount of the player base left the game because they expected it to become pay to win after certain microtransactions were announced. At this point in time, the game is definitely not pay to win, but rather play to win. The strongest players aren't up there because they spent thousands of dollars on the game. They're up there for the amount of time they've put into playing it. That being said, it is possible to make in-game money using real-world currency, but the amount you can make is limited and minuscule compared to the amount of money you'd make grinding and playing the game normally. A lot of people believe that Black Desert Online is dying. Contrary to popular belief, this game is far from dead. It may have looked that way in the past since players were split up by choosing from 1 of 3 servers when they created their account and then choosing from a number of channels when they logged on, but recently all the servers were merged, so now all that splits players up is the channels, and even then it's immensely populated in every city of every channel. To wrap things up, if you were like me and quit the game early, I hope I've convinced you to give it another try, or if you're just looking for a new MMO to play, I would definitely recommend Black Desert Online. It's the most in-depth MMO I've played, there's loads to do, and although it has a large learning curve for new players, I definitely think it's worth it. Anyway guys, thanks heaps for watching, have a great day, and I hope you enjoy Black Desert Online.